Hey everybody, I am Tommy and you are on the Love Boat. That's official, you know. It oddly enough, I had no plan for that, but it became the Love Boat on my birthday. Can I get a 5x5 if you can hear me? Nora, good to see you. How are you? Barbara Aldrich, what's up? Kristen Melinda. Hey Taylor Miller. I am glad that you are here. Maria, how are you? Well, I'm hoping that I can be heard. Clifton Ferguson, I'm glad that you're here. Maria, what's happening? Look at that, 5x5. Well, I'll tell you, Archie's mom, good to see you. With the day that I've had, let's put it this way. My money was not on this live feed working. Renee B, good to see you. Jane Aldrich, glad that you're here. Hello, Brenda. The Love Boat. Man from Minnesota. In the flood. Dennis, I'm glad that you're here. Chicka Cherry Cola, what's up? Barbara, good to have you. Boy, have I got some stories today. You know, depending, I guess, on who you are, you might find some of these. That wasn't me. You might find some of these funny. That really was a motorcycle, by the way. Today, folks, is, let's see, 55 days ago, 55 years ago, rather, today. In a small little hospital in Rutland, Vermont, I came into this world. Always happy to see you too, Maria. Appreciate that. You're jealous that I can hear the waves every night, and I can, but not like Johnny Scoville can. Yeah. If you want to hear those waves, though, head over to Living Abroad with Johnny Scoville, and you will hear them. He actually films the Malecon as well. Hello, Amy Edge. And that's it's been an amazing couple of days on the boardwalk. Hello, Audra in Denver. There have been races. These are swim races for teams from all over the world doing relays and all kinds of other stuff. It was pretty good. 5x5. Hey, Brock Bandy. Hey, Cindy. Kellyanne, how are you? So, Susie, what's up? A 5x5 is on a scale of 1 to 5. How good is the audio and how good is the video? I don't remember how the hell that started, but it started a long time ago. So, you know, you would get the 5 and 0, and it tends to let me know that people can't see me, that kind of a thing. Hello, Lilac Lime. Amy, I'm glad that you're here. So let me tell you about the day I had. As you may not, as you're probably aware, or maybe you don't know, but since arriving in this country, we've eaten an awful lot of fish. Specifically, we've eaten an awful lot of ceviche, and if you've ever had that, it's like it's almost like a soup served usually cold, and it has an awful lot of fish in it. And they come in a lot of varieties, but it's always a ton of fish. Instead, today we decided that, and I think it's the first time in like 2 weeks, that we were going to not eat fish. So after running errands this morning, and I'm not going to get into the errands because it would require me explaining all kinds of stuff that I'm not ready to explain yet. But I will tell you this. I spent hours this morning online doing things here in Ecuador. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. Yes, we went for steak. And, you know, I know it sounds dumb, and we keep saying, boy, it was the best fish I ever had. It was, the best fish I ever had. But this steak was ridiculous. My brother and I both ordered the same steak. It was like a 10-ounce, and it was garlic steak. Tony's Hooter, how are you? I'm glad that you're here. It is my birthday. Can you believe it? Oh, it's too funny. I'll tell you that story later, but that's too funny. But we ordered this steak, and there's a bit of a language barrier. The guy said, we'll bring you the steak back, like 3/4 done. And I'm one of those cats that eats steak really rare, like the kind of rare that usually brings in the health department. You know what I mean? And I'm not even being funny. Like the way I order. So Johnny is trying to communicate with this dude, and Johnny says, we'd really like it not cooked that well, like more like instead of 3/4 cooked, maybe more like 1/4 cooked. And he smiles and says he understands in Spanish, and then says medium, and turned around and walked away. But came back with a very, very rare steak. And if you don't like garlic, you would have hated this. And I don't mean disliked it or not enjoyed it. You would have hated this. The the size of the chunks of garlic on top of this, it was impressive. Let's put it that way. It was an impressive amount of garlic. And then there were some vegetables on there. I'm not a vegetable guy. I ate all of them. And then there were French fries. First time I've seen those in a very, very long time. Even when I was in the U.S., I don't do a lot of stuff that is French fries. And I said to Johnny, would it be bad for him to say, hey man, you got any ketchup? And I don't eat ketchup on French fries. I just thought it would sound very North American. And before we had a chance to request anything, he brings a glass bottle, and as the glass bottle is sort of a yellowish color. Honestly, it looks an awful lot like the oil that you use to lubricate a watch. Same color, almost same consistency, but it was nothing but heavy garlic like an oil. And I put it on everything. Wine a little bit more. Thank you. Just Joan, I appreciate that. Nothing will ever move from your plate. Well, this did. It was ridiculous. In fact, it was so good that when Johnny's earlier feed didn't go well, I said, let's go get another one. Do they have any American franchises there? Walking distance from my house, just down the boardwalk, a couple hundred yards, is a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we went shopping today, and I'll get into that. But we went shopping today, and I saw gift cards for all kinds of stuff. If you ask, and I don't want to say her name because then she'll start saying, what can I get you off my phone? But you know who, right? The Apple woman, you know who. But if you say to her, where's the closest McDonald's? She'll tell you it's a 2.5-hour drive. And it literally would be a 2.5-hour drive. Oh, you know what? The food was incredible. However, on the way to find the steak shop that we were going to go eat at, Johnny Scoville did something that I haven't seen him do probably since we skied together. Now, it was a long time ago, right? A long time ago. But he went head over heels, and I mean bad. It was a very, very ugly fall. Dennis Brace, thank you, my friend. You know, when I saw the Dennis, I wasn't sure if you were the man from Minnesota. Dennis Brace, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you know what? It hasn't been a happy birthday, but I have high hopes in it turning around. My last birthday I spent in bed, and all I did was watch movies. And it was honestly, it was just amazing. How about the price of food? Well, give you a little perspective. Those two steaks, if I think it was 24, something like that. I think it might have been $25 or $26, somewhere in there. It's really, really inexpensive. They are very reasonable. Everything down here is so reasonable. Hello, Long Island, Blitz. Everything is so reasonable that sometimes you just think that they're kidding you. Like we buy Dasani water and it's in bottles like this big, and it's so cheap that you're like, how do they do this? It's the same bottle they sell in the United States for $4.
$1.37 for a 6-pack.
And it's $1.37 for a 6-pack. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But after Johnny fell down, and he's going to be bruised, it was an uneven sidewalk, and he just took a tumble. Thank you, Jeremy Fowler. And it was ugly. He's got bruises on his knees. He's got his hands cut up a little bit. And you know what? When someone falls, this is a guy thing. Somebody under the age of 29 falls, and you're a guy, you go, right? And you get a laugh. Between 29 and like 40, you go, hey, dog, you all right? That looked ugly. Once you start getting up into that 50, 60 range, you panic. And my heart was in my throat. I was waiting to see if he was going to get up. You know what I mean? It was a good tumble. And he did the Maxwell Smart kind of get up. Okay, he was on his feet really, really quickly. But we decided we were going to go shopping. We needed some stuff for Squirrel Nut Zipper and for the kitty. We have been using an improvised kitty litter tray. Do all restaurants and stores take debit cards, credit cards, or do you have to carry cash? All of them, no, we shouldn't say all of them. Everyone I've ever been at gives you the opportunity to pay with a card. But I think that they prefer cash, right? Cash seems to be king, but absolutely you can shop with a credit card. Today we hailed down a cab, right? And there are two marts, right? That especially around all of Ecuador, but around Salinas, there is a Maxi Mart and there is a Super Mart. And the Super Mart we had not been to yet. But when we got in the cab, I said to the guy, "Can you take us to the Maxi Mart?" And the problem is you say something in Spanish and then they assume you speak it. So he turns around and goes, da, 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 and I went, okay. And we proceeded to go on a very long cab ride. And I mean a very long cab ride. And as we're driving, we're going past one supermart after another, right? And I'm thinking to myself, hey, this isn't good. And, before you move to a place like Ecuador, I wasn't too worried about it, but all your friends call you and say, people are getting kidnapped down there, don't you? Whatever you do, don't get in a cab, don't do this, don't do that. And I said to Johnny, I'm going to ask this guy how much longer this ride's going to be, because I'm starting to get a little dicey, starting to feel a little nervous. So I hit him with the Cuánto Tiempo, and he was like, pointed, right? Like we're a couple 100 yards away kind of thing. It was a mall.
It was 10 more minutes before you even got.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely was lying with the pointing. It was at least another 10 minutes. But this was a mall, and I'm talking about a proper mall. If there was nobody in this place, and I just took a friend through and said, hey, let's come on in and check this out. It doesn't look a whole lot different than any Blue Sky. Good to see you. It doesn't really look, and I appreciate that. It looks like every other mall you've ever been in your life. The difference being there's nothing you can't buy at this mall, and I'm not being funny. Like just the huge mart, the Super Maxi has it. It's like a Bed Bath & Beyond and a Home Depot and a Walmart. And what else? Anything else thrown in there?
Sure,
and a bit of a motorcycle dealership as well. All rolled into one.
A bank.
Oh, and a bank. And just about everything that is over a certain amount of money, they'll let you finance. Like everything. So, and amazingly, I can't find anything in Walmart. I can't. When I'm in the US, I spend most of my time walking around, and I'm not being disrespectful, I'm not. But my brother and I would walk up to Walmart employees and say, hey, I'm trying to find this. And they'll say the dongle was really one of the funniest things. The dongle is something that I needed in order to plug in a camera and a microphone into one unit, right? It's got a little splitter in the back. And 2 in a row, we went to where they said, the man that has the key to that, hello, Mittens 1970, the man who has the key to that isn't in today. And my response was, so if I got $400,000 in my pocket, I can't buy a dongle. And the response basically was, yep, that's what you're looking at. Texas Kate, good to see you. Can't buy it. Today, with the inability to speak the language, we found everything. Oh, well, I'm glad that you picked my birthday for the first day to stop in live, Blue Sky, really. It's an honor. We found everything. And we found everything almost like it was a setup. I would say to Johnny, oh, you know what we don't have? I mean, when you move to a new home, there are things you have to have, like some basic tools, right? I need a hammer. I need some screwdrivers. Carolina, Canada, what's happening? So I would say to Johnny, I need a hammer. He'd go, oh, here's one. And I'd say, I need this. And I mean, random stuff. And I wanted a kitty litter tray. Everything we looked for, we found. We also found motorcycles, dirt bikes, enduros, road bikes, electric bikes, everything. It was remarkable how much was in this one store. However, by the time I got there, my nerves were a little on edge. And not just because I'm not trusting. Are there many wealthy people here? There are. Actually, there are wealthy people here. Now, wealthy may sound different because, we spend US dollars here. But because of the exchange rate, because there is an exchange rate, someone that makes $20,000 a year, $25,000 a year can live a very comfortable life. But there are people here driving Mercedes-Benzes, and there are people here driving Porsches. There are some wealthy people. Those kind of things aren't any cheaper. But there are cars you've never heard of that you can buy off a showroom floor for $15,000 to $16,000. Feels a lot like 1970 something. So this was, again, by the time I got there, I was a little on edge. Not because, I was super untrusting and I thought I was getting kidnapped. That's kind of tongue in cheek. But the cab drivers here drive a lot differently than cab drivers I've ever seen. And I've been around the world. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. There are a couple of places where they drive like this, right? Where they're trading paint. You know what I mean? Like they're almost bumping into each other at all times. And so by the time I got out of the car, I could barely breathe. And we do our shopping, and we were complimenting them on just how easy this was. This was simple. Then right as we started to check out, someone that was checking out seemed very, very entertained by us and started to take some pictures, like a woman and daughter. And I don't know whether they watch YouTube. I don't know what the deal was, but they were certainly fascinated by the two of us. Yeah, Maria, there are a lot of Americans here. There really are. There's a lot of Americans here. However, we weren't with any of them today. Sammy Sue, good to see you. Yeah, I've been to Mexico City. Very similar driving, actually. The lanes in the road, they're just sort of there. One-way streets, if you're on a motorcycle, going the opposite direction on a one-way street is just done, like all the time. Today, from our balcony, we watched 2 cops pass a guy going the wrong direction on a motorcycle. And they just sort of give him what's up? Because they take care of, I think, crimes that are a little bit more gnarly. Yeah, there are forums down here for expats. There are Facebook page groups for expats. There's a lot of Americans, and there's a lot of Europeans, not just all Americans, but a lot of people who expatriated from their place of birth to live in Ecuador. Now, when it came time to check out of this thing, like any place in America, I mean identical, like any other place in America, when the time came to check out, we got in line and they wanted an ID. Now I'm paying cash, but they wanted an ID. So I don't carry my passport. I have traveled the world. I've been to a lot of places, and I learned a long time ago that carrying your passport isn't always a great idea, because God forbid you lose it. You're going to spend the rest of your life trying to get it back at one of the U.S. consulates. So what we do is you take color copies of your passport, good ones, and I carry them with us. So, and I'm trying to explain to this dude, this is a cash transaction. I think he may have confused that I was going to pay with a credit card, but he took my passport, photocopy, color photocopy, and plugged some stuff into the computer. The entire time this is going on, Johnny's kind of working the cart and putting stuff up onto the conveyor belt. And if I'm exaggerating, if I'm exaggerating at all, I'm not. There was a guy standing behind me. And when I say he was 2 inches behind me, if he was standing any closer to me, yeah, Johnny says he was 1. If he was standing any closer to me, he would have needed to wear a condom. And I'm not being funny. I turned around, right? Because I could feel this guy's breath, not on the back of my neck, somewhere between my shoulder blades. But I went like this to turn around, and just the action of turning like this, my shoulder hit this guy in the chest, right? He was, I'm not kidding, this close. So I took a deep breath. This is a prison thing. And I'm not proud of the fact that I spent 13 years in prison, but nobody gets that close to you. If you do, right? Yeah, I will have my Ecuadorian ID to be sure, Renee B. That comes, and I can't remember what they call it. We're probably about 60 days away from being able to get that, the first one. How bad are the mosquitoes? Haven't seen one. Have not seen one. Literally, have not seen a mosquito since getting here. The only insects that I have seen, occasionally I've seen a couple of small spiders, but that's about it. And small enough that I didn't go, that kind of thing. But I said to this guy, right? Are you trying to be my friend? Right? In his language. And I said, because I'm not looking for any more friends. Could you back up a little bit? And he just started to laugh. Now, when I tell you that I was a foot taller than this guy, I was a foot taller than this guy. And I probably outweighed this cat by about 60 pounds. And the last thing on planet Earth that I want to do, and I'm not exaggerating, the last thing I want to do is get into any kind of a scuffle, right, in this my new country. But I've never had anybody encroach on my space this much ever. I'm not joking. And I can tell you, 55 years as of today, I've never had anyone this close to me that I wasn't intimate with. And as I moved forward a little bit more, he continued to get closer. So Johnny assumed that maybe my Spanish wasn't great. And he said into his phone, hey, man, you need to back up a little bit. You know, a little personal space. You're very, very close, and you're making both of us uncomfortable. We have absolutely moved to Ecuador, Blue Sky. This is our permanent home. Yeah, this is our permanent home. No more Arizona. Yeah, we moved. This is and I love it. And this mall was absolutely incredible. I mean, anything you want that you can get in America, you can get there. It's just a hell of a lot cheaper, but anything that you want, television sets, just everything, you know. And it's funny because you'll have French presses and all, and then the next aisle over will be tape, and as far as the eye can see. I said to Johnny, we just need a little duct tape. You can't live without duct tape. I can't, right? Because if you can't duck it, forget about it, right? Duct tape will hold up just about anything. I'm not, you know, maybe he was trying to pickpocket you. Blitz, blitz. That's me, right? That's exactly where my head went. And one of the things that they warn you about is petty crime, right? Especially in the part of Ecuador that we live in. Not a lot of people, furniture too, absolutely. Yep. There's not a lot of really serious crime going on here where we are, right? In our part of Ecuador. But the stuff that people do complain about is like pickpockets, things like that. And this guy was making me a kind of uncomfortable that had I been in America, I just would have gone like this with an elbow and I would have hit the guy in the face. I would have. I would not have had anybody invade my space for that long a period of time.
I've never been that close to a man that I didn't punch or hug.
Absolutely.
One or the other.
Yeah, exactly. Do you hear Johnny? Johnny said, I've never been that close to a man who I didn't either punch or hug. And the both of us are now feeling some kind of way, right? Because he just continues to laugh. And this is his language. And we can see the translation below it. And it said, listen, man, back up. I'm not playing. Right? Back up. Now, we're 400 pounds of Italian. And this dude's maybe $140. But laughing his ass off. And I promise you, he knew what we said. Then I figured it out. And so did Johnny. As we're going through the process, as you're checking out, it is hectic. It is very weird. There's a gazillion people trying to check out at once. And he was trying to get his product on our bill. The only thing he was trying to buy was a garden hose. And I should have known something was up because he started out with his wife and his kid. And he grabbed something out of his cart and they sort of took off. This is what put me on edge. Now I'm going, hey, why are you not with your family? Right now I'm already starting to grit my teeth. I grew up in the Northeast New York area, right? Been on a lot of subways. This just didn't seem right. Do you carry anything to protect yourself? When I stayed in Mexico for a month, he got very verbally aggressive with me on the street. I started carrying a glass soda bottle. I'm not trying to sound, I'm a lot bigger than almost everybody in this country. I'm not being funny and I'm not being disrespectful or anything else, but when you see somebody that is the same size as me, it's a trip because you just don't run into people who are 6'2", right? And over 200 pounds. You don't. I was filming. No, I wasn't. I was on like a Skype call with a friend and two cops came by. Now these were cops that worked with the military. They're like military police. And both of these guys were north of probably 5'11". And it freaked me out because I hadn't seen anybody that tall in so long. It's like I was telling Johnny, the toilets in a lot of places, like the first hotel we were at, the toilet was a squatty potty. I didn't need a squatty potty. Sitting down on that, and my knees were up around my chin. We figured out kind of what happened, and he was literally trying to get the guy to bill us, sort of to sneak in the garden hose and Johnny was able to communicate and say, that's not ours, right? Get that thing out of there. But then we got out, got in the cab, and the cab ride home, if I'm exaggerating, the cab ride home took 8 minutes, right? Somewhere in there. And the cab ride there took 30. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. They carried weapons on their leg, right? And they carried it between their knee and their hip. They don't carry it like they do in America. They looked very military, but they came in to get a cup of coffee at the hotel we were at and gave me a buenos noches. And I mean, they're the friendliest people in the world, but they definitely look like they were ready for business. The person I was talking to said something along the lines of, they're dressed like the guys you shoot in video games, right? If you're doing that, I don't play video games, but apparently they were very military looking. I carried Johnny Scoville today. I figured between the two of us, even with him falling down, we would probably be in decent shape. Their weapons here they take very, very seriously. If you get caught with something that you shouldn't have, you're in deep trouble. And I just don't need any of the headache. It's rare that we go out like out like that. We go out every day, but to go in sort of into the city a little further out doesn't come up very often. But we went shopping, got everything we needed, and came back. Now, when we got home today, we had a storm. When I tell you that storms don't happen here, I'm not being funny. Like, I asked the realtor, because I said, the height that we are, I think it would be really cool to see a lightning storm. We're way the hell up in the air. And I've never been in a building this tall when lightning was striking. And we have a lot of windows that have some really great views. And I was kind of looking forward to it. We said, she said, I'm not exaggerating. She said, about 4 months ago, we had an electrical storm, a lightning storm. I said, 4 months ago. She said, I've been here going on 19 years. It's the first one I've ever seen. Apparently, they just don't happen. And if you look up the city that we're in, they'll tell you that you get about 345 days of sunshine a year. It doesn't rain much. There aren't storms. And this was a good one. We couldn't see the next set of beaches up, gone. From the balcony, we couldn't see Ceviche Beach where we had stayed at the hotel. Nothing. I mean, it was rolling in, and it was raining onto the balcony, and it was cool as hell, but the power went out, which happens in storms will do that here, right? Storms will do that here. However, the craziest thing was my refrigerator, power didn't go out to my refrigerator, which I thought was pretty damn cool. And the power in the building maintains the elevators as well. Because we came up in the elevators like a couple of happy gringos. And we came in here and Johnny said, I don't think we got power. And he flipped a switch. Now I flip a switch, which is on the same circuit as my refrigerator, and the light comes on. And I'm like, nah, you're an idiot. The power's on. Hello, V-Bombs from New York. Heather Rhodes, good to see you. We flip the light on, and the light over in the kitchen, that will come on. And we were able to at least keep all of the food cold, which is a nice thing. We do have there's a generator in the building that takes care of everybody's refrigerators, things like that. So when the power goes out, the generator kicks in. I thought that was kind of cool. But we looked at generators today. I want to go solar, just in case we roll into these situations again. I do want to be able to talk to everybody. I want to be able to go live and do it without going on my phone. But between Johnny falling down and then me having, I'm not joking, the best steak I've ever had in my life. It was just ridiculous. And then the roller coaster ride of what it was like going to a mall. Like, we've gone shopping. We've been here for weeks. We've gone shopping and filled the place up. But we needed some stuff that you couldn't get at the close mart. And hello, Danique.
No pantries either.
Yeah, there's no pantry in here,
Really?
like you would have in the U.S. There's just
no stars.
And you will, unless we get way the hell away from where we live, I will never see a star again. The light, there's so much light on the Malecon that never goes out that a lot of people call it light pollution, but there's so much light that you see that there's just no hope of seeing the stars, nor getting a good look at the moon very often either. Apparently, a woman in her 60s looks like a drug mule, says Renee B. You know, I've seen some crazy stuff in airports. I really have. I've seen some crazy stuff where they do the sort of the random stuff and they pick people out, and you're thinking to yourself, you know, they did a Saturday Night Live sketch about that, where a guy's going through and he's got a law rocket on his shoulder, and he's dressed in camo, right? And he's got an AK-47 across his chest, and behind him is a grandmother, and they let him go walking right through, and they grab the grandmother. Taylor Miller, we have been to the Super. Yeah, this was the big deal. This was the mall. There's nothing on earth you can't buy there, and I'm not being funny. If you can get it in the U.S., you can get it there. No joke. Everything. It's it was
here. You can't get there.
And yeah, man, a lot of things here that you're not gonna get there. But it was weird to go to go in an aisle that had produce, kinds of fruits you've never seen. Johnny started buying peppers like crazy. And one row over, right, are Vespas and dirt bikes and Enduros, and right. And then in the same aisle where the motorcycles stop, aged beef from Argentina. And really, really odd how everything is sort of set up. But I think if a normal person were to look at it, they would say there's zero rhyme or reason to how any of this was set up. The fact that we could find everything so easily probably says something about us, that we're not built quite right either. Yeah, aged beef, Kristen Melinda. They advertise aged beef. This stuff was like, what was it, 20 days? There was a 20 and a 32, I think. But the beef here is incredible. What is the reason they don't have stars in the sky? We live on a strip called the Malecon, which translates to the boardwalk. So there's the boardwalk and there's the ocean, right? But the boardwalk is very modern. So even every building is lit up. Our building is lit up. All of there's a lot of light, and it's like being in New York City or being in Miami. When you have that much light going up, you're never going to be able to look up and see stars, because the black that you're normally used to seeing is lit up about as far as your eye is going to see by the light from the ground. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone camping and you're out in the middle of nowhere, right? And you think to yourself, man, the stars have never looked better, because there's no light, right? There's no light pollution to block you from seeing that. We live in the land of light pollution, I promise you. Even the buoys in our beautiful town have digital advertisements on them about every, I don't know if it's every every light pole on the Malecon, or if it's every other one, but they have huge signs that are like TV screens, and they will change out. It's not literally like a TV, but it lights up. They're very, very bright. It looks more like what you would expect in Taiwan than you would expect in a place like Ecuador. I was blown away by how modern this strip looks, but it's just about this strip. Do they have Amazon there in the Amazon basin? Yeah, we can order anything from Amazon, right? Anything that you can order from Amazon in the United States, you can order from Amazon in South America. No problem.
It takes a while.
The difference is how long it's going to take to arrive at our door, right? Really quick deliveries run about 21 days. Is the beef grass-fed? It is. Absolutely it is. Does it bum you out a little bit not being able to see the stars? You know, not until they mentioned it. I probably would have never thought about it ever again. But once it was brought up, and it was AI, the dirty thing. AI was congratulating us on our move and talked about how there's a lot of really cool events that happen here, the triathlon, the races. All of them tend to happen right below our balcony, which is really cool. Why, thank you. Salud. Appreciate that. Not only is it grass-fed beef, they're not shooting it up with hormones. They're not shooting it up with steroids. They're not shooting it up with all of the stuff that they do in a lot of other places. And it is grass-fed and it's free ranging. So it is really, really different. So what made us choose Ecuador? When I was incarcerated, I started to buy books on expatriating from the United States. And I started to look at a lot of places that people were moving. And some of them I had already been to. So some I had checked out. One of the things that I struggled with every time I left the United States was conversion rates and money. That to me, and also respecting money. When I'm in another country, and the United States is the only country that every single bill is the same size, right? A $1 bill, a $5 bill, a $20 bill, they're all the same size, they're all the same color. You go to any other country and the bills tend to be different sizes and different colors. And I start feeling a lot like it's monopoly money, right? And I start acting like it's monopoly money. And when they say the cab ride's 20,000, whatever the currency we're spending is, I start tipping way more than I should. I start acting like a jackwagon. So as I started to look at different places, I have not been to Panama, but Panama has a great reputation in terms of expats. But it to me, in the research I did, it is more American-like than a lot of places that people go. And I was kind of trying to avoid that, to be honest. And Ecuador, I read a lot about Ecuador when I was in prison, because at the time I had married an attorney who had been here a lot, and she loved it. She loved it. She had hit most of the big cities. And a while back, Ecuador got rid of its currency and adopted the United States dollar. And I don't mean that they back their currency with United States dollars. I mean, when I go to the grocery store and I reach into my pocket, I'm using the exact same money that you are. The difference being there's still an exchange rate. In other words, like that Dasani bottle I was talking about, a 6-pack of Dasani for less than you could get one bottle for. There was Pepsi's today. Johnny Scoville and I were walking, and 1 liter Pepsi's. Do you remember the price? 45?
Yeah.
45 cents for a liter of Pepsi. The prices are really different. It's considerably cheaper. I have not gone out to eat and seen a bill above $30. Now, I suppose if you were getting a bunch of cocktails, Uruguay is more expensive than Ecuador, according to my research, but very nice. Uruguay is awesome. Honestly, of all of the places, that was number 2. If we didn't pick Ecuador, we probably would have picked Uruguay. It's got a great reputation. They have done some really cool things. How far do I have to go to see the stars? That's a great question. I would imagine if I was going from here to any of the larger cities, like if I was going from here to Guayaquil, where one of the big airports is, or if I was going from here to Quito, we would catch stretches where I would be able to see the stars. But do they use real sugar in soda? Like, yeah, they absolutely do. There's no high fructose corn syrup. They're not much on additives. They're not much on colors and things being added. The food's very different, and you feel it instantly, really, truthfully. I lived in Greece back in the 80s for about 3 years. It was really cheap. I paid $10 a month rent in Santorini. Yeah, it's my dumb arse is in one of the most expensive cities in our country. Are you living in San Francisco or are you living in Seattle? Because those are the two that jump to my mind when people say the most expensive cities to live in. Those two are really expensive cities to live in. Although New York's also brutal. It is, depending on, like, if you want to be right on the water, you're going to pay. It's like any place else. If you can see the ocean, then you're going to pay a bit of a premium for that. But where we live, if I had to buy this in the United States of America, I don't care what beach or what state you're talking about. There's no way I could have afforded it. There's just absolutely no way. Denver's number 4. I love Denver though. I've had a lot of fun in that city. I used to go to Colorado a lot to ski. And I dig Denver. I really do. It is a nice city. You know, the name is Audra in Denver, and I asked her where she lives.
Lovely.
Wow.
It was a rough day, dude.
Yeah, it was a rough day. Audra in Denver, what city do you live in? Good Lord, somebody hit me with a tack hammer.
We bought one.
Yeah, that's crazy. That really is crazy. But one of the things that was important to me was being near the water. I really I've done the mountain thing. I skied forever, and I've been in a lot of different places that have snow and have mountains, and I've lived in the desert. One of the only got an extra room. There's a little extra room. That's why you hear it echoing. One of the reasons we were trying to go to the mall too is to get some some carpet. You know what I mean? Some area rugs, so that it doesn't sound like we're in a mausoleum or a museum. It was echoing really badly, and it really was. But the rhythm of the ocean, being able to hear it, people have talked about that my whole life, and how that your circadian rhythm sort of starts to smooth in, right? Oh, Cape Cod's lovely. I love Cape Cod. I really do. But I've listened. I've fallen asleep to the kind of stuff that Johnny now has on his channel, and I've been doing it for a long time. But to do it in real life is very different. I really, if I was going to leave the country, I wanted to be someplace where I was on water. So that was a big deal in the decision-making process. But the fact that we spend US dollars was also a really big deal, because if you expatriate permanently and you have a massive swing in the exchange rate, you can find yourself in an awful lot of trouble. Your life savings can go like this, not because you did anything, but because the exchange rate got really, really different. Stupid question. How are you living with Johnny Scoville? It's hell. Absolute. No, I'm kidding. Johnny and I get along like no two brothers. We really do. We've always we don't have a lot of harsh words. I think that we probably got one mind. If
I knew what you were thinking when that guy was standing beside you.
Yeah.
And you knew what I was.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Like when the guy was standing behind me, and I said to the guy, "Hey man, I'm not looking for any more friends." My brother looked at me and said, "Hey, please, right? Please, whatever you do, don't punch this dude in the throat." And he didn't say that. He didn't have to, because he kind of knew. And so did I. I also got really uncomfortable when the woman started taking my picture, and that's a YouTube thing. Relatable Reese, how are you? Good to see you. It is my birthday. Reese's is coming up too. This July month has a lot of people. Did Johnny ever have an addiction issues? You could say that. Am I planning on getting a vehicle here? You know what?
No.
Probably not. And if I had ever thought about it, today probably talked me out of it. I'm not joking.
Hey, we saw our first accident.
Yeah, we saw our first accident today, and it's a fender bender, but the fact that we don't see an accident every 8 feet is astounding. Like, here's another thing. Where I grew up, and I know that this is awful, but where I grew up, if a person leans on the horn, they're not doing it for any other reason other than to be not very nice. That cat is so funny. It's kind of like giving someone the finger. I mean, the part of the country that I grew up in, when people start beeping the horn at one another, they're going to end up on the side of the road punching each other. Road rage is a real thing in North America, especially in places like New York. And here, people beep the horn. Like our cab driver probably beeped the horn between where we got picked up, which is just down the street from our house, 15-minute ride, 20-minute ride. I bet you he beeped that every 45 seconds the entire way there. And everybody's doing it. Everybody is beeping. Everybody is, happy birthday, Joan. Yeah, the Reese's birthday is coming up. Johnny's birthday is coming up. I have a sister whose birthday is coming up. Um, yeah, this is a hell of a month. July is really something. It really is.
I did treat you to a great steak.
Yeah, but my brother did buy me a really fantastic steak, which I absolutely adored, uh, and we are family. He'll be doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Wait till Christmas, and we were able to. They make a drink that is made out of coconut, and by drink I don't. There's no booze in it, but they take a coconut and they whack the top off of this, and then they kind of pulverize a little bit of the coconut itself. The first thing you do is they stick a straw through the top of it, and you drink all the water out directly out of the top. They hit it with a machete, literally, and you drink the water out of it. And then they take the coconut and make it into this concoction that they sell about every 6 feet. I mean, everybody sells this. You see it everywhere, but they put real cane sugar in it to sweeten it, and it is one of those beverages that, thank God, there's not alcohol in. I don't think anybody that I've seen, try it doesn't like it. Like when you see foreigners,
You know what?
saying, "Let me try one of those."
We've never seen someone drunk here, rocking the fool ever.
I've not seen any. We don't go out a lot at night either, though.
Sure.
But I've not seen anybody drunk. They don't allow people to drink on the beach, so that probably helps. But since getting here, I have seen, no lie, one cigarette, and it freaked us out. It really did. It freaked us out, and it was being smoked by a guy who was somewhere in the ballpark of 140 years old. Did he not look like Father Time?
He did.
Yep, and there he was smoking a cigarette, and you should have seen all the people look like, what in the name of God is that? They have pretty serious laws about tobacco. You're not smoking in a building. You're not smoking in a restaurant. They don't want you smoking on the sidewalk. You can't smoke on the beach. And like a lot of countries, Riley's human. Good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like a lot of countries have done and adopted, if you wanted to go in and buy a pack of Marlboro Reds, right, or a pack of Camels, you're not going to see Joe Camel on the pack. You're going to see lungs that have cancer. You're going to see tumors. I mean, they put some really disgusting images. Johnny was pointing to him. We were in a like a little bodega kind of store, teeny little one, right next to the hotel we were staying at when we first got here. And he goes, "Man, look at that." And I was like, "Oh, why would you point that out?" I go, "What the heck is it?" He's like, "Those are cigarettes." He's like, "That's their warning." I mean, I guess if you've been smoking your whole life, you're not going to care that there's a tumor on the side of that thing. But if you had never picked up the habit to buy one of those things, was he married? Quibs. He was right in your wheelhouse. I mean, the age-wise, Anna Nicole. Proud of you. Serious. Jalados de paya on me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Tanique. I love that. And I will. And I will have a drink on me. I will do that. And I appreciate that. And I probably will end up having one of these coconuts. I drank coconut water that I bought in North America, and I kind of feel like maybe I wasn't getting coconut water. Kind of feel like maybe that was a hustle. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but it sure as hell doesn't taste like anything I've had here. The other thing that really has freaked me out, because someone asked me recently, is there anything, after getting there where you go, wow, that is really different, and I didn't see that coming? I like guac. I like guacamole, right? I love avocados, which is odd because I don't usually like anything like that, but I love avocado. And we were eating ceviche the other day at a place that we stayed at and then went back, and they were very happy that, you come back to visit, and they were very friendly. But the chef came out and said, you got to try this. It is not fermented blitz, no alcohol in this. When I tell you that, no joke, it starts out a coconut, they cut the top off of it with a machete at your table. Like they go, ha! Stick a straw through the membrane at the top for you to drink the water out. Once that's done, they take it and turn it into something that's very similar to a milk kind of a texture, and add some sugar to it. It's amazing. But this guy brought out, and he said, "This is on me. You got to add this to your ceviche. You're going to love it." And as he walked away, I said to my brother that I am looking at an avocado, right? And he said, "Yeah, I mean, it looks like one." It was so soft, right? It was so tender. It was like nothing I had ever had, and it made me feel dumb. But I actually had to ask. I was like, "This is an avocado. This is an avocado, right?" Uh, things taste different when there's no industrialized farming. You know, I'm not busting on North America. One of the reasons, though, that I expatted was because prison gives you so much time to read. I don't know if you ever saw the movie A Bronx Tale, but Sonny from A Bronx Tale, one of my favorite actors and just an absolute awesome character in that movie. But he says, the kid asks him how he got through prison. You know, what did you do when you were in there? He said, "There's all you can do is play cards, lift weights, or get in trouble." And the kid says, "Well, what did you do, Sonny?" He said, "I read books." And I read a lot of books. I wish I had done that my whole life, but that last sentence, all I did, now I can't leave, right? No, I'm not. Now I really couldn't. This is, but I read books about things like the commercialized farming and what we have done. I've told the story many times about Donald Scott Taylor, the guy that he was a cellmate of mine. He was murdered in prison, but he used to huff gas. And I said to him, "That was your drug of choice?" He was so far away from civilization that all he had out there by the farm in New Mexico was gas for the vehicles. And like I was saying the other day, if you hate your life and you cannot get alcohol or you cannot get drugs, you're going to do, I mean, you'll breathe something in if that's what you're going to do. Real ceviche is cooked in lime juice. It isn't cooked with heat at all. I agree. Absolutely should have no heat on it. And this here, it's almost a religion. Every single restaurant claims to have the best ceviche in all of Ecuador. We're going to find out who's telling the truth. But I said to this guy, Donald Scott Taylor, I said, "What did you grow on the farm you lived on?" And this was thousands of acres. And he said, "Soybeans." And I said, "How long have you been growing soybeans?" He said, "My entire life." Right? He was 28 years old. They had been growing soybeans in the same soil for 28 years. You know, everybody else on planet Earth realizes you have to rotate crops because certain vegetables, you know, whatever you're growing, are going to suck different things out of the soil. So by rotating different crops through, you don't destroy the dirt. It's a pretty simple concept, right? If you grew corn one year, grow soybeans the next year, we don't do that in the U.S. We don't. We buy seeds from Monsanto. DNV, good to see you. Appreciate that. I really do. But we don't, in the United States, that doesn't happen. We've, it's become the grocery store to the world. In fact, there's a very large company called Archer Daniel Midland, right? ADM. And that was their logo for a long time. ADM, grocery store to the world. They like to brag that they grow enough food in the United States to feed the entire world. I don't know that the entire world wants to eat their food. Not being disrespectful, but you notice a difference really quickly when you start eating somewhere else. We lived on a farm in Kansas and we rotated crops for that very reason. Yeah, makes sense, right? Thank you again, Denise. Yeah, crop rotation is a very, very big deal. If you do not do it, you're going to destroy, just for yits and giggles, you can Google, pick any vegetable, right? A carrot. I was born in 1970, right? In fact, I was born 55 years ago today. But you can Google what was the nutritional value of a carrot in 1970. In other words, what vitamins and nutrients and minerals and things did it have in there? How much vitamin, whatever. And compare it to a carrot grown 55 years later in the same country. And they're both orange. I mean, outside of that, I'm not 100% sure that they've got, a whole lot else in common. It really has gotten bad. I am officially 15 years older than, I dig that. I dig that. It's a short window of time every year where I get to be 15 years older than Quibs. The soil is depleted. And, the crop rotation was discovered by the Native Americans that lived here before we got here. But we know better, right? And somebody pointed something out the other day that I did not know. I never read it in the book. That the companies that make, hey, whine a little bit more, good to see you. That the people that make perfumes also work on flavors for food companies. That scares the crap out of me. I'm telling you, that scares the crap out of me. And I don't know. I know what protein does in my diet. I know that I think a lot more. If you've watched thank you, Legal Eyes, appreciate that. If you've been watching the Lifeboat, now the Love Boat, for any length of time, that you will probably notice that I'm not doing that, what was I talking about thing that I do so often, I'm almost famous for it. I don't forget things. I don't walk into another room and go, what the hell was I just doing? Now, I also know that a lot of that is because I got a lot of dopamine going in my body right now. At 55 years old, there are not a lot of experiences that I would have had that were novel. Novel experiences cause more dopamine, right? Dopamine is brought on by novelty. Makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because kids, everything they do for the first time. And you need that dopamine, keep the kid happy, right? As you get older, you've done everything. Food is fuel, says Kellyanne, and it's a fact. It really is. Thank you, Debbie Zito. I appreciate that. It's despicable what they've done to our food. It's one reason so many people have cancer. Fact. It's a fact. The other thing that's sad is it's designed to make you want to eat more an hour and 40 minutes after you eat it. And scientists are literally, that's their job. Like they're being hired to make that food addictive. I don't need to live anywhere where the stuff I eat is being engineered to be addictive. Because you know what? I have demonstrated, as has Johnny Scoville, that we can get addicted to a lot of stuff really easily. And we've been addicted to some really ugly stuff, right? Including heroin. It's a tough substance. But I have the potential to weigh 700 pounds. I don't want to be that person. The more, I'm starting to really get a handle on this whole food, sleep, and exercise actually really change your life. Who would have thought? Get that sleep schedule in place, start doing a little exercise, and not having a car sort of forces you to exercise more. We walk a lot. I feed my bod first, then I feed my cravings. Yeah, for the longest, the first couple of weeks here, just one meal a day was what we were eating. Now, when I get up in the morning, I do this yogurt, but it's in a drink form. And when a year ago, I was living in Bug Tussle, Tennessee with Reese Quibs, and she used to get it for me. I know I'm going to mispronounce it. It starts with a K, and it looks like Kefir Sutherland's name, but it does. You don't say it Kefir, right? But it's Kefir, maybe. I don't know. It was super, super expensive. Really expensive, but good for your gut. Here we can get this stuff by the gallon and get it for a couple of dollars. So it's people don't snack as much outside America. There's a lot of truth to that.
$2.78.
Yeah, $2.78. I promise you, if I bought that in the U.S., I would need a second job. Love me some Taco Bell. I had a friend once, this is a million years ago, and I don't know if he was telling me the truth. He lived in Texas, but he said to me, there's nothing at Taco Bell that didn't come out of a carton, and they would mix it in with things, and that used to scare the hell out of me. My GI doctor told me about food being designed to be addictive. I was blown away. Remember, Lay's potato chips, no one can eat just one. Not if you pay your scientists enough. Right? If you get the right scientists doing the right things, I guarantee you no one can eat just one. It's only as we get older do we realize how important these things are. In our youth, we think we are invincible. Boy, oh boy, Kellyanne, you said it. Hold on one second, people. I'm going to blow my schnoz. I got to get used to air conditioning again, right? The good thing is that my part of the house, yes, that's exactly what it is, Blitz. That's exactly what it is. My part of the house, I don't air condition the same way that Johnny likes it a little colder, and I'm in his world right now. Clark Griswold's Crunch Enhancer. That, you know what? I knew someone was going to bring up Clark W. Griswold. It has good probiotics. It does, and I'll tell you what. I don't know if you know what C-car diff. If we have a doctor or if we have a nurse here, you would probably be familiar with C-car diff. And it is what happens is all of the healthy bacteria, all the healthy, what is it, flora? No, flora. All the stuff that you have inside your gut, the healthy stuff, it all dies off. All of it. All of it. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things. That's a hell of a quote. It's one of my favorites, actually. It's one of my favorites. And I will be the first to tell you, one of the reasons I renamed this The Lifeboat, one of the reasons that the message has changed is because I absolutely lost hope. I really did. Thank you for the super chat. And you know what? Hope is a beautiful thing. C. diff is bad. Yeah, it was. I got to meet a lot of people who had cancer because I would go in and get IV antibiotics, and I would get them in the same room as people would do their chemo. So I would sit in the chair that had a little television in front of you, and I would have to go in a couple of times a day, and it's really ugly. It really, really is. Since then, I have taken gut health a whole lot more seriously. Now knowing that poor gut health can trigger migraines. Well, and I've struggled with migraines. I am really spending a lot. I'm paying much closer attention to my body. Yeah, Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite quotes of all time. It really, it's funny because it also can be, from a guy that has done time. Sean Combs right now has hope, right? For him, it's going to be a dangerous thing. Hope can be really ugly. It can really do a lot of damage, but it is the best of things, and it can be the worst. The things to avoid: white rice, white bread, and white sugar. I haven't seen any of those since getting here. Yeah. Mark Martin, by the way, thanks for your analysis of the Diddy verdict last night. Your insightful comments regarding the sentencing guidelines was great. I appreciate that, Mark. What a kind thing to say. And I saw a couple of people today who have come out and said now they're going in the other direction. And they're saying, we're about to see, thank you, Susie, that we're about to see some really, really deep, ugly charges against Diddy. And that's why he was not let out on bail. And I'll tell you something, folks, I'm not jumping on this bandwagon. I don't buy it. I don't. The reason he didn't get out on bail is because the charges that he is in for, you don't get bail on. It's just that simple. A lot of times, like in the state, the assumption is you're going to get bail unless the crime is so heinous, right? You're going to get bail. Well, there are certain things you're never going to get bail on. And in the federal system, it's the exact opposite. It's assumed that you're not going to get bail, right? I didn't even get bail hearings. And the last time I had my own house. I lived in a town where I had relatives. My wife at the time was an officer at the court. I had ties to the community you wouldn't believe, and I was willing to put up my house. And they wouldn't even give me a hearing. I couldn't even get a bail hearing. Yes, you can ask me a legal question. That would be great. The news here in New York keeps saying he will only get 5 years max. I hope he gets more. Blitz. This is probably the easiest way that I can explain it. In all of my time doing time, I have never seen somebody who was, thank you, Debbie, going strong. I've never seen somebody offered a deal by the federal government, right? In this case, they offered him 20 years. They're not going to, I did 13 years, Danique, but I did not do that all at once. I did it over the course of 3 prison rips. Melrose, happy birthday. You're on Wednesday? See this? Look, this, I'm telling you, this is the month. We all need to get together and just party for the month of July because it's everybody's birthday. Quibs is coming up as well. July 11th, Debbie going strong. Yeah, see this whole month, a lot of cancer signs around here. The Love Boat. Rosemary, it's funny because I had been waiting for them to allow me to change the name, and I was able to do it on my birthday, which I thought was kind of poignant. Looking cute at 55. Happy birthday to you. So glad you're happy. Love the age gap, 15-year age gap. And you know what? I like that. I like that we were all coming together. I really do. I heard some really ugly things today from somebody. You guys know I don't watch hate, but some people reached out to me and said, you would not believe what this person, you all right? Is that your cat? Yeah. You would not believe what this person did. And I said, I would believe anything that person did. You know, one of those people that pumps out hate. Riley's human. You're at the 20th. Do you know what? The 20th was my dad's birthday, July 20th. No, you're right. Then it was my ex-wife. My ex-wife was the 20th and my dad's was the 21st. Why do you think Brian Kohlberger, who did the Idaho killings, would take a plea 42 days before the trial? I'll tell you what. Fear, right? Fear. A lot of times, I don't know how the Idaho state works, right? I know how the federal government works, and they will drag their feet and drag their feet and drag their feet, and then you will get the last of the discovery, right? Thanks, V-Bombs. Please have a nice night, and thank you for spending part of my birthday. I really appreciate that. But I have a feeling that after seeing everything against him, he knows he can't win. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And it's amazing how ugly it gets for you if you don't plead guilty. Then they punish you. The sentences get a lot longer. So as I was saying on the Diddy thing, they offered him 20 years, right? They're not going to let him get less time than what they offered him. And if you missed last night's show, what the legal eagles are leaving out, and you can ask AI, I am not, are the avocados different color and shape? They are much. I never saw one with the outside on it. I only saw it in a restaurant. And the color was a very different green. It was almost yellowish more than it was green, very, very light in color, and absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. More often than not, good night, Reese. Please sleep well. More often than not, I have to salt the heck out of that to eat it. And I did not have to put anything on this stuff. So yeah, with Sean Combs, in all the time I've done in the feds, I've never seen somebody who rejected a plea and then didn't get more time. If you ask AI this question, can a federal judge take into account, right, the crimes that he was just found not guilty of? Now, you should think if he was found not guilty of that, then the judge can't take that into account, right? Wrong. The judge has been to law school. The judge has been a prosecutor. The judge has been a defense attorney. The judge has been through so much. And he's in the Southern District of New York, which is the rock stars. That's where the best of the best end up. Preponderance of evidence, right? That's like the threshold for a civil case, not a legal case. And a federal judge can go like this. I think he is guilty of RICO. I think they made their case. So I believe he did that. I saw him beat his girlfriend. I'm taking that into account. And as I was talking about yesterday, his offense level is a 14. There were 2 victims. That makes it a 16. The judge knows he beat up Cassie. The whole country, except the jury apparently, knows that he beat up Cassie. That is a 5-point enhancement, right? Now it starts to get ugly. Now he's starting to get up into that range, but it doesn't matter because the judge can go like this. I don't give a crap about any of that. And I'm going to max this guy out. I believe that this is something he's been doing his entire life, right? And I'm not going to allow him to just walk out of here. We gave him an opportunity to plead to 20. He should have. I'm going to give him 20, right? He's not going to walk out of here with less than that. That's my humble opinion. And I don't see them taking 2 of these charges and running them at the same time. It's disrespectful. And it doesn't send a good message. The feds have a 99. I looked it up. They have a 99% conviction rate. Doesn't mean that they convict 99%. It means 99% of people plead guilty. From our family's experience, the plea they offered was less time right before the trial would have started. Do they punish you for going to trial? They punish you for going to trial. And a lot of people you'll hear on the inside will say, I'm not taking a deal until voir dire, right? This is an inmate thing. They're getting hip to it. You put the lime in the coconut. Well played, Kellyanne. Well played. I like it. I like it. A lot of inmates, you would hear them say, I'm taking this, I'm going to go to the box, right? Which means you're going to go all the way to court and actually let the judge, let your lawyer try this and let a judge do what he does and a jury do what they do. It's very often it's a bluff, and they will let you get all the way up to the voir dire process where you start to actually ask jurors questions to pick a jury. And at that point, cut a deal, because at that point, the state or the federal government realizes how much it's going to cost to prosecute this person. But Diddy, they paid a fortune to prosecute Diddy. You cannot predict what 13 people are going to do when you get them, or 12 people are going to do when you get them back into a jury room. There's no way to predict that. Plain and simple. You can't. But I've had people reach out to me and say, do you think he got paid off? Do you think he paid off people on the jury? I don't know. I really don't. We certainly know that he would like to. We certainly know that allegedly, when they raided his cell at MDC Brooklyn, in his notebook, he had a list of people that he wanted to bribe, and he had a list of people that he wanted to threaten, right? The problem is most jurors are brainwashed bootlickers. Legal Eye Freedom says, you know what? And I'm sad to say that I probably had a hand in that to some degree. I was on a lot of panels early on, and I really bought into a lot of stuff that the guy's a dirtbag. I'm not giving him any pass. You understand? I'm not giving him any pass. But I don't think that all of the things that he's been accused of happened. And especially the stars. I don't believe that there are that he's got tunnels under his house, and I sure don't believe he has tunnels under his house that have so many kids going through it so fast that they needed a Starbucks, right? That this is something people talked about, that there was a Starbucks down there, and that they were smuggling kids in and out. I went to prison as a convict, right? 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. You want me to believe that all of this is going on and nobody ever told? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I hate that I know anything about the criminal system, justice system, but it helped other people. Well, I wish I didn't know a whole lot about the criminal justice system, because I certainly came at this from the wrong angle. Somebody said yesterday, I got a comment from someone that said, this is one of the more enlightening feeds, and I really appreciate your legal knowledge. And I said, almost joking around when I wrote it, this is the fruits of a misspent youth. I stopped laughing the more I thought about it, because that's kind of the truth. I didn't go to law school. I broke laws, and I had a lot of time to sit in prison and read, and I helped a lot of people write appeals, and I did marry an attorney. I didn't learn a lot about law from her, but I certainly spent a lot of time in the law library helping people write appeals and things, especially when the crack laws changed, because there were so many black people black guys in jail for crack that just all they had to do was file to get out. And I was helping them file one right after the other, after the other, after the other. I subscribe to your channel from Mr. Atwood. Love Mr. Atwood. Good dude, always has been. I really like him. I like his channel. Had a very good time. Marrying an attorney is not law school by osmosis. A little bit. Yes, a little bit. What's your heart's desire for my 55th? You know what? I could say something like Miss America and say world peace. But to be honest, I already got it. I really did. I got so off track, people. I got so off track, and I hurt people. And I don't mean all the stuff that people said I did. It's not what I'm talking about. but my reaction to a lot of that stuff hurt a lot of people. And you can't name a star from the 1980s that did not sing me happy birthday today. Somebody that I crapped on for a long time was sending me one digital card after the other, and my brother and I were dying laughing. It was just absolutely great. And there were people that I didn't think I would ever see again. There were people I didn't think I was ever going to get a chance to talk to again. Did I get a paralegal certificate? I did, as a matter of fact, because I had intended to work with the ex. I actually did get the paralegal certificate. I didn't do a thing with it other than when I was inside. I helped a lot of people when I was inside. But yeah, a lot of inmates will get their paralegal certificate because it is a job that inmates can do when they get out. And it's a job that, has some dignity. A lot of times when you get out of prison, the jobs you get, especially in the beginning, they don't, it's not always the most dignified work. You guys, if you've ever been over to my old Instagram page and watched me crawl through, the bowels of those ships, literally crawling through holes that were not even big enough for me to fit through. And I am horrifically afraid of small places. Didn't have any other ideas to make money other than banks. It's pretty scary stuff. Well, I started out stealing things, but I had to sell the things that I stole. You know what I mean? So you have to have somebody called a fence. And the fence, when you first meet a fence and you steal something, he says, I'll give you 60 cents on the dollar. So you steal $2,000 worth of something and you bring it to him. And he says, okay, 60 cents, right? So I'll give you $1,200. Well, the next time you go there, he goes, yeah, I don't need that stuff anymore. I'll give you 30 cents. And pretty soon, you're just working around the clock stealing. I know this, by the way, none of this is logical. I'm not saying any of this is logical, but robbing banks seemed like I was cutting out the middleman. I wasn't going to have to pay off a fence. I didn't need another criminal involved in this. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Arwa, good to see you. Thank you as well. I appreciate it. Why did the government announce they're only seeking roughly 4 years? Blew my mind. Here's the deal. I'd have to see that written. I know that there have been people that are reporting that. I can't do the math and find out how that's possible. In fact, I can't arrive at that with any math. Every time I put it into the federal sentencing guideline sheets, I can't get anywhere near that. And I'll tell you something, the government's pissed. That's what they do. They get very angry. They want to send the message to every inmate that if you, NBC, oh yeah. But do you remember when I came on during this thing and said, the people, all the pundits said, he will be out on bail tomorrow. There's no way they can, not let him out because they let the guy from Abercrombie and Fitch. And I did a show and said, I promise you, Subramanian's not letting that guy out on bail. It's not going to happen. And the difference is, and people started screaming racism. Well, I mean, the white guy was 80. He allegedly hadn't committed a crime in over a decade, and he didn't get caught with a crap load of automatic weapons, right? With serial numbers filed off of him. This was really kind of an ugly thing. A lot of pawn shops are the scum of the earth in regard to suspicious items. Yeah, there's a song called Souvenirs, right? That's written about that. And it's one of the most, it's John Prine. And if you don't know John Prine lyrics, man, you're missing out on one of the best things in life. For real.
They hit different people differently.
They hit different people differently depending on whether or not you've ever been addicted. John Prine, Broken Radio is another one you might want to look up. Heavy lyrics, man. When John Prine sings, I cry. That's just how it goes. All right, people. I am going to go and spend the rest of the evening laughing with my brother, Johnny Scoville. Thank you so much for all of the well wishes. Hey, Tony Hooter, you're one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I mean that. And one of the kindest. And that doesn't happen too often. Not in the same person, right? Now, if you want to fall asleep the same way I'm going to, head on over to my brother's channel, and you can listen to what the Malacone is going to sound like this evening. It is near deafening. It really is. You can control the volume in your room. Here, we have, it's like Ace Ventura. If that door was open right now, that baby is rocking. NBC reported in a prosecution's letter to the judge to not grant bail. I missed the end of that. There is no reason on God's green earth. It's really odd. But here's one of the other things that you kind of got to remember. It's a product, right? It literally is a product. So NBC reported in the prosecution's letter to the judge to not grant bail. She only asked for that low number. Here's the thing. There was no bail option. So NBC's wrong. There was no bail option. You hear me? No bail option. That particular crime is sexual in nature. The federal government says if the crime is sexual in nature, there has to be a wildly extenuating circumstance to let someone out. In other words, it had to be his mom had 2 months to live. And yeah, he's going to prison, but they want to give him an opportunity to see his mother before she passes. Or he is the only person who can shut down his business and shut down the house and get rid of his assets because he doesn't have any other family left. Those are extenuating circumstances to the degree that a federal judge will say, okay, even though this is a sexual case, I'm willing to give you bail. Like the guy from Abercrombie and Fitch. They don't think this guy probably will make it to trial, right? He's not trying to get a speedy trial the way that Sean Combs was. So throw an ankle monitor on him. Extenuating circumstances. It's been 10 years or more since he committed one of the crimes. That's an extenuating circumstance. He's 85 years old. That's an extenuating circumstance. Though he's not a threat to the society. Combs had automatic weapons with no serial numbers on them, right? He had people who wore bum packs, right, full of drugs. He had all of these things that the preponderance of evidence, yeah, the jury may not have said, well, all of that is a fact. Ruined Subramanian, he doesn't have to listen to any of that. Now, that doesn't mean he can go back and say, I'm going to convict this person of racketeering. Once the jury says, nope, that's it, the jury says, well, that's it. I'm going to be blown away. In fact, I am going to come on here and say, somebody got paid. If he ends up with 4 years, I know the federal sentencing guideline sheets. I can't make that come out to 4 years. I don't care how I do it. I can't. The best chance I have seen, like if he gets really incredibly lucky, he's probably going to end up with about 140 months. But again, he was offered 20 years. If you get a 20-year offer and you go to court and get sentenced to less than that, you're telling every other person at MDC Brooklyn, in Chicago, and in every county jail waiting to go to the feds, hey, man, I got a chance. Feds don't want to put that message out. The feds want people cutting deals. When you plead guilty in the feds, they drop how much time you're going to do in prison. When you force them to spend a lot of money, they max you out. They give you as much time as they can to send the message to everybody else that your best plan is always going to be to plead guilty. You get a 3-point downward deduction. You realize that if that cat had pled guilty, he would have been eligible for probation? No joke. Look at the sentencing guideline sheets. 14 is the cutoff. If he had pled guilty, they would have dropped 3 points off that. That would have taken it to an 11. So even with the 2 victims, that would have brought it to a 13. He would have been eligible for parole with a criminal history of 1. They're not going to let this dude get a deal like that. It would send the message that I promise you the federal government's not ready to send. Thank you so kindly to all of you for wishing me a happy birthday. This day got really crazy on me, but you guys rehabbed it. You really did. You guys rehabbed it, and I won't forget it. Last year's birthday, I had so much fun. This one was a little tough. And I love where I live, but this was kind of a tough one, wasn't it?
Started off good. We'll finish strong.
Proof positive that you can thrive at 55. Tommy, you rock. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And you know what? I sure as hell feel like I'm thriving. But that's got a lot to do with you all. It really does. All right, people, I'm going to be back tomorrow. Between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. I am Tommy, and this has been The Love Boat. Love that. Good night, everybody.